Thank you very much. I'm Jessie and Reilly. I'm the chef and owner of Take to Cake Decor in Naples, Florida, Southwest Florida. I am so happy to be here. This evening, we're going to work with Wafer. There may be some of the techniques that I show you that you may have already seen before. It's good to review a little bit because Wafer does just about anything. Also, we're going to work with paper potion. It smells like vanilla. It works in all different ways. So let's get started. The first thing I would like to show you, which you possibly, there's some people on here that have seen it before, is making stems. The one thing about Debbie is, and many people that have got in touch with me on lives and different times that could be just sending me an email, they really like to be able to eat the whole flower and no wire. So this evening, I'm going to show that first to make the stems. I have some already pre-made. I'm also going to show you how to do that with a calla lily, all out of wafer, totally edible. I will show you how to wrap and also how paper potion actually works. And before we get started, I am going to show you what can happen with paper potion and wafer if you drowned it. So if you just wait 1 second, it's hanging over here on my cupboard. And what I did was I just took half a sheet and I just doused it with paper potion. And what it did, which is wonderful in many, many ways, especially around Halloween time, but this is over drenched. And I was watching another guest that was on live for Icing Images, and they were making a flower, and they said it would work better with just vodka, and paper potion took too long to dry. So this is what can happen if there's too much paper potion, but it can also work in your favor if you're wanting to drape it. And then you don't have to use any sticky or any glue or any whatsoever. It just comes, and it also, if it was even, it's dried a little bit now, but when I first did it, you can stretch it. And also I'm going to show you what can happen with it, also with just plain water. But tonight I would just like to use some paper potion and treat some petals and make a stem for you. So this is very flexible and it's very drapeable. And eventually it will set up, but it'll always have a lovely give to it when you work with paper potion. And this is what it looks like. This little one here, if you see me using it, it's got vodka in it. This was my very first tester that Deborah had sent me, so I use it as a spritzer. This one here is what I developed for that one live where they were having difficulty with using a smart sheet and making a rose and rose petals. I found that paper potion took too long to dry. So what I did is I took the potion and I put half or 3/4 potion and the rest a little vodka, or you can use Everclear along in this other bottle, which is marked so I know what it is. So that would speed up the drying of your petals. So I'm going to set this aside now. And these are the stems that I have pre-made. But right now I'm going to put the camera down and I'm going to make a couple of them for you. I'll put them in front of a fan and possibly within 15 or 20 minutes, they're going to be dry enough we can use. But I also have some that are already prepared to use tonight. So with that, this is how your wafer paper comes. And it's very important, not so much for me, but for the people that are in a drier climate, that you store this wafer paper properly. Store it properly. What do you mean by storing it properly? Well, if you go up to one of the stores, could be Hobby Lobby, could be whatever's got the, could be Walmart, could be any of those. I'm not selling for them, but they come, these have, this one here has little individual spaces in it, but you can buy them. And they actually, if you're storing your wafer paper, your cello sheets, your smart sheets, and you're in a very dry climate, they fit perfectly in these. And what I do is I take a Ziploc bag, and you can put a little sponge in there. And in that sponge, you can drop a little bit of water, not a whole lot of water because you don't want it to like leak out. Lay it inside of this. We'll pretend these are in this. I'm going to put the camera down here a little bit. Okay, so what we have here is a sponge inside of a Ziploc bag, and take a little needle pin and poke some holes in the top of it while the sponge is still wet but not drenched. Set it inside, set it in your cabinet. It keeps your papers perfect. And then just check it once a month. Make sure you use distilled water and that you have gloves on so that you wouldn't have any mold happening within your sponge. If you see that happening, you just take the sponge out and replace it. This came from the dollar store. You can get that. That's just a little sidecar because I hear and get messages. How is it's breaking? It's too hard to peel off, or it's this or it's that. It's because of the dry climate. I'm not in the dry climate, so I have paper that is very flexible. So I'm going to put the camera down here and pull this back a little bit. Just give me 1 minute. Stacy, this is why I want the remote. I was talking to Stacy about a remote camera. Okay, so if I pull this out, my sheet out, this one's already been split. But you see how I can bend that and flex it? See how nice that is? And this is an older piece that I've had possibly for a while. And I can take it and fold it. And then I can take it and fold it again. And you don't hear any cracking. Crack, crack, crack. If you hear the cracking, just put your sheets inside of a storage, and they won't rehydrate, but they'll start to become more flexible and easy to care for. It's just the climate. So now that I have this sheet out, I'm just going to take it and fold it and perforate it and take it just like that. And what I'm going to do is on this, I am not going to use the paper potion. I'm going, because it's alive. Now you can use the paper potion, and you can use water, and you can use vodka, and you can use Everclear, and you can use even lemon juice if you want with this technique. Because I want it to dry quickly, I am going to just spritz it. And you may have seen me do this before. It doesn't matter whether it's the rough side of a wafer or it's the shiny side. So I'm just going to give it a little rest there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and flip it over like we're going to do a cinnamon roll, or just roll it up. And it can dry up a little bit if you just give it a couple of minutes. And I'm just going to bring it to me. And you notice I'm using a Silpat. The reason I'm using that is because there's like little air pockets inside of the silicone. And it helps that once this is starting to dry up now, it helps to keep it tacky down. so that it doesn't roll up on you. So I'm patting it in. I'm going to turn a little fan on over here, and I'm going to set it in front of the fan. Now, the other thing you can do with this, if you want to use them right away, is you can put them in your dehydrator, or you can put them in your oven in your stove and just put it on low. And like in very short period of time, they'll be dry and able to use. So this is like what I'd say a medium size stem, you see? And that's going to sit in front of the fan and dry up. Now with this, I have some stems that are already finished here. I'm going to dry this off. It's going to dry very quickly anyway, because I was using straight vodka on that. But what I'm going to use on this, you can see I've got some stems here that I've already made, and I have some cutouts that I've had from another live that I did. So I am going to use, and you notice that they're still flexible, they're still very movable. So I'm going to take paper potion, and I'm just going to put a little spritz on it. Now, gently, you don't have to saturate it. You can, and when you do, just lightly spritz it, which I don't know whether I can keep you in camera on this. We can just lightly do it, and then they will dry in like less than 20 minutes. So I'm just giving it, that's the rough side, and it really doesn't matter which side. And I'm going to do both sides of it just to give it a little movable. And I like to rub my hands around on it, just like this. I'm going to use an edible stem, and I'm going to fold that like that. And I'm going to fold it again and fold it again. I'm going to put the stem in the middle of it, and I'm going to attach that just like that. And it, if you can tell, paper potion also can be used to glue. So it's stuck. And now what is going to happen, very shortly, it's going to dry nicely. And this is one that I have over here. It has not got a stem on it yet, but I am going to put one on it. And that's done with paper potion. And you see, it's dried. So the reason I'm going on about drying is that I've heard it so many times that it takes too long for it to dry. So I'm going to set this just in front of the fan also. I got to kind of stabilize it or the fan's going to blow it right off the counter. So we have this one already made, and there's a little hole that I've made inside of there just so that I could put a stem in there. So you can, and what I used for that is just a medium-sized dowel. And so it gave it the opening so I could show you this. So what I need is one that's going to fit into that size. And I have different sizes here so that you can see them. There's a very thin one. That would be like 1/8 of a sheet. But you see, you can use up also all your little trimmings in order to make these. Now let's see if this fits. Not quite. Let's see right here. Definitely. Okay, so then we have that. So how are we going to keep that so that it doesn't fall out and it doesn't leave? What I use a lot of is semi-isomalt. That's just me. You can use Little Honey's glue. You can use a wafer paper glue, and wafer paper glue is watered down, leftover pieces, just all ground up in your coffee grinder. That's what I use. I just bought it especially for that. And then you just put a couple tablespoons of that in one of these little dishes or in a plastic dish like this. And take a spoonful, add some water. Just going to take a spoonful and put it in there. Set this aside. I have some bottled water here. Now it's really going to hydrate. So you have to keep adding a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more until you get to the consistency that you want it to. But it's kind of like a dough. The reason it's like this, it's made from potato starch. And so Deborah was talking about me going into the scientific part of her sheets. I always read the ingredients. And then I take that ingredients and I either add to it or I use more. So you see how it's coming together and it's hydrating. So you can use this as your glue. You can use it on the sides of your cakes. You can use it. I don't really like to use piping gel. Piping gel to me, it's really hard on wafer, but a lot of people use it on the sides of their cakes when they see how nice and gooey that is now. It's perfect. So that's how you make the glue. What I'm going to do is have Dave warm up my isomalt and set this aside, and then I'm going to glue that on there. It's already a little warm. It's just got a little cold. So I have a list over here. So stems come first. If you're making flowers and you're making these, I would say you roll out a bunch of different size stems. It doesn't even take a full sheet to make about 7 or 8. You can make them long. You can make them individual. The other thing that you can do with them is while you're rolling them out, they stick to each other. So you can make like the branches. And then you don't have to use any glue. But when I take something like this and I'm going to put it on the side of a cake, I usually put a little dab of ice malt, and then whenever I'm using some of the other pieces that would go on this, I would also use little honey, or I'd use something very secure. And I always find that for me, isomalt is the answer. I haven't had any thing fall down or come off. So you see how this is setting up now? It's very secure and it's very stuck to the stem. So what I do here, Dave's just warmed up. This isn't boiling or anything because I've already used it before, but this is semi-isomalt, S-I-M-I, isomalt. Just go on that site and it's clear and it's beautiful. And I think Deborah has some that she sells also. Am I right?
We do.
All right.
Yes, you are.
Yes, we are. So I'm going to take this little stem out of here and I'm just going to put a little weeny bit on there. Just let it run a little bit. Watch your little fingers that you don't burn yourself because it can. Even though it's a little daub, it can leave a little blister. So that's just going to go in front of the fan for just like half second. If you use cold spray, you can use that too. Then it gets a little gummy. So now I can use my finger and I just form that around there. Now, what else goes with a flower? I think probably leaves. And that is what we're going to do next. These are ones that I have formed, and what I've used is If you have a Cricut, you can use a Cricut. You can use whatever you have on hand. But I use a punch that I had here somewhere. And anyway, it's one that you buy at Hobby Lobby, or you can get them sometimes online. And it is here somewhere. Excuse me 1 minute. It's right in front of me. This is it right here. And it's got a little lock on it. Pops up. And you can take your wafer and just set it inside of there. And crack out some leaves. Once you get to know me, I like things that dry quickly. And if I'm teaching a class, you know, when you have young people, they want to see the results right away, or any age, they want to see their results before they leave here. And so it's really good to have all these products. So what I'm going to do is, I've got 2 of these cut. They're both exactly the same. I'm basically going to put one on top of the other, and I'm going to use paper potion. I have some other ones cut too. So I'm just doing a very light spritz, and then I'm going to use a former, like a veiner. You can call it a former. Where I got this, I couldn't tell you. I have got probably 10 of them, of different ones. I have got different ones from Nicholas Lodge, and other ones that I've just gotten picked up out of stores. So I'm just going to take a light spritz on this. In camera, right? I'll just do it over the water. Just a very light. And then just take this. I'm going to double it up. And it's going to stick to itself like that. It's supposed to. Anyway, spritz. I'm going to give it a little rub. Set it inside of this veiner. Just make some veining, and there you have it. I don't know whether you can see the veining in that, but it's very nice. Then if I didn't want to wait, I can take this, because it's still damp, or give it another little spritz on the back, just off camera there a little bit. And I can take it and just set it onto it like halfway so it does stick nicely to it. And then put it back in front of a fan. It's just a small fan that I have. And you can see that it's on there, and just let it dry. Now here is our first stem that I just have to anchor this down because the fan seems to be a little stronger than what I thought it was. Okay, fan. The stem. Now, this is the one we just rolled, and you see it's pretty solid. It's going to be very set up shortly. So that gives you time to make them. And so what I'm going to do with these, I'm just going to dip them in a little bit of isomalt. You can also use one of the tools that Sydney sells, and just dab it, and then put a little bit of isomalt on that, and then stick it to your stem, and watch your fingers. You got a little hairline going there, and you've got a leaf. And I'm going to take a little bit more, just a very small amount, because you don't want to melt down the wafer. And you know, I'm working away without any gloves on with isomalt, and I do that because I've been doing it for a long time, and a lot of people would say you don't have any feeling left in your hands, which not a lot. Well, that doesn't want to stay there. I'll just get a little bit more. That's the glory of isomalt. And just go in here and stick that there. Now, there's another thing that I see on Reels and Instagram and all this kind of stuff is making these shapes and just saturating the wafer paper. Well, I'm going to show you that because under the comments, when I read that, I see that people are saying, what is it that they're using? What is it that they're using in order to do that? So I'm going to show you what I think they're using. And like Deborah said, if I see something, I'm going to go and do it. And I like to learn. I have my own, I like to learn from other people and their techniques, but then I often have to transition them into something that's much faster, uh, especially if you teach. So I'm going to set that aside and just let it dry. Set my stems aside. Look at my list. So we're covering some flowers. And the other, what I was talking about is this, these forms. And it was a gentleman on, I don't know, a reel. And he cut the sheet in half, laid it down one half, saturated it using a brush. Then he took the other sheet, put it over top of it, and it was saturated again. And then he dusted it with cornstarch. And as far as I know, from when I saw the forms finished, there was no glycerin or gelatin or anything in it, and it became this form. Well, okay, that's good, but you know, it's made, it's got wires in it, and so what I did is I just took water because it didn't say really what he was using, and put it right over the sheet, and then I put the wires in it, and then I put the other sheet over top of it, and then I just set it over top of a cake drum that was still lined, that was new. And then if you didn't have one of these, you just cover something with plastic wrap and form it. And so it just takes the form and droops over, and then it dries. It's kind of a fast talk on somebody else's time doing it. And so if you would like, I can show you that. But right now, what I'd like to show you is I'm going to tear wafer. And I'm going to make a flower out of it. This is still a little damp. So I wipe it. Any questions there, Debbie? I can't see any questions.
No, nope, not yet. Everybody, I think, whenever you come on, everybody just kind of stares in awe and trying to get all in. So
Well,
normally that's quieter with you.
too quickly. Okay, so I'm going to cut a little part of this off and set this part to the side and save it. And I'm going to round the corners out, and I save these pieces because this could make part of the center for the calla lily. So I'm just going to go around like this and set this up. Now I'm not going to draw anything on here. I'm just going to freehand it. And I have another stem. So what I'm going to, this is going to, what if you wanted to, rather than cut the sides, you could probably tear it. So I'm just going to tear it this way. Start with kind of a finer. Everybody see me? And now let's go around here. Tear. I want to have a very organic look to it. Kind of going around in a circular tear. And if you happen to break through, it's okay, because you can just stick this on there. And then I'm going to use paper potion this time, and put a little bit in a cup and use it in glue form, and also to hydrate the wafer. So we're just going through this. And this is quick. And you can tell that I like things to go quick. So we're just going around and give it a little bit of a twist right there. So now we have this piece just like that. And I'm going to put some of this potion in here. Get a spit, and I'm going to go around the edging, the outer edging, with paper potion. Kind of wet it down. Not being too cautious, but it will do its thing. Moisten it up. You got two sides of rough. And okay. So then I have a stem here, and I'm going to start at this end. And I'm going to roll it onto bring it around and pinch it and pleat. Pinch and pleat. I'm trying to do it in the opposite direction, but that's okay because I'm a righty, right-handed. If it starts to get too dry, what you do is you just take a little spritz on here and around it and give it some potions to make it have some more movement. And pleat, and then it starts to come out. You can make it wider, a little wider, and press in on the outer part, and press in. So all I'm doing is pleating and organically bringing it around. If it breaks off, you can just stick it right back on again. I'm going to put a little more on there. I work better this way. We'll pleat and pleat it, and it starts to come out. You're going to the wider end of it now, so you want it to take on the rose, but you notice the center looks very much like the rose center, but it is what you call a fantasy flower. And it works very well onto your stems that you've made, and you can color the stems. You use some of your luster dust, or you can also color and airbrush your wafer prior to doing that. I like to use the powder on it afterwards. And the reason for that is when I'm doing this is because I don't want to get my hands all full of green and also the flour. So I color them and spray them afterwards. And this one I wanted to be in white because I'm making a black cake with white over there. And I have another one for Halloween that I'm doing, and I'll show you some of the black. So you see how it's just forming. And
a question for you. This is actually two things. Stacy asked a question, and then I'll ask mine, if I can remember it. He says, I wonder what you could do with a little paper potion in an airbrush and a little coloring. You may get better control than using the spray bottle. And Julie says it's awesome.
Yes, I have a handheld one, and I do.
Yeah, so the challenge.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when I'm on a live, I can't do that with it seems to make a big mess in the kitchen, you know.
I'm talking about later, not now.
Oh, later. Oh, I can do that, yes. Just that you've got a spritzer on there. So there you have it. And that's set up now. And that's using paper potion. And what I'm trying to do here is to get over the idea that it takes so long to set up. And this is all set up too. So you have a stem, and then you could make a bouquet. And what can you do with this if you wanted to make it bend? Well, you just take some steam. If you don't have anything else, you can put a pot on the stove and make some steam, and you can then steam it, and that will bend. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to saturate and put wires. But I'd rather, let's say we go to the calla lily first before we do that, because that's somebody else's technique. And I have these cut out. And what I did was I used a Nicholas Lodge's former that he gave me for calla lilies. And what I did is I did just an impression onto just a paper towel wrapped up. And this is the former. And if I had, let's say, I have my wafer on here, and you can pad this up, or you can use a sponge underneath it. You just take this and just press down on it, and it gives you the impression of the calla lily. I don't wet this and do the perforation thing because it's a plastic piece. I use metal and do that, so I don't know whether you can see there it is. So you see, and then what I do is I just cut that out, and this is what we have. So the next step to this is what I want to do is, how are we doing for the time here? I'm going to take some little pieces of wafer, and I'm going to spray it with paper potion. And I'm going to make the calla lily. So I'm just wrapping it and rolling it, wrapping it, rolling it. And yes, it's a little wet, but that's okay. I'll show you why in a few minutes. When we started with Deborah, she used to have colored wafer paper, and I still have a bunch of that stored out there, but I grind it all up and use it for centers, and I'm going to show you what I do with that in just 1 minute. So all I'm doing is wrapping it around and making it larger because I want the center of a calla lily. So I'm going to take some more potion and spray that on there, which is nice and wet. Don't be afraid of that because it'll dry, and you'll see why I want it wet. Because we need some texturing on this so it looks more like a calla lily center. And I also make centers for roses out of my scraps. And I think that's already on one of your YouTube channels. So there we have it, nice and smooth. So I have some of the yellow that I used to have, and it's all in here. And what I'm going to do, because this is nice and wet, I'm just going to roll that around in there. And it's going to stick and make the center for the calla lily. Just set that there. So I'm going to take my mat from Nicholas's, make some impressions on my calla lily. Just go right up the center with this, just so that it has some veining in it and some curling. You can go around the edge of this with some of your paper potion and just kind of dampen it. So take a former, but I have a steamer over here that I can steam these. So I'm just going to wet that down, just like that. And you can curl that up a little bit. Put a little bit more. And this, what I'm using right here is paper potion. I sprayed it into this little cup. And I'm just going to set the center in here. And I'm going to take the farthest one, wrap it over, and wrap the bottom over, stick it together. And this is what you call the larger calla lily. You can also do a closed one. And then you can take this, I'm going to steam this and show you how that you can form it and also form the stem. This will make some bubbly noise. We'll just go over here, see if you can see that steamer. The reason I don't want to bring it over too close is because it will spray all over everybody. That's good. Maybe shut this light off.
Oh.
You see that once you get some steam. Also, like the reason I'm showing you this too is because the stem of the calla lily is very straight. But I wanted to show you how you can actually move it by steaming it without steaming this part of it too much, because it's got some nice paper potion on it and it's very movable. So I'm just going to put that in front of the steam like that. And this has been done for a couple of days, this stem. Okay. And so if you have a look at this, you want to unplug that steamer for me there, Dave? You see that now I can move it. A little bit of steam goes a long way. You don't want too much. If it isn't bending enough for you to put on your cake, then you would put a little more steam on it and bend it. Now, I've been asked this question at the last icing image demo that I did. If you're putting that into a wet cake, which cakes have moisture in them, what I use is I dip this part, or whatever's going into the cake, I dip it in, I use a straw, or else I dip it in paraffin wax. And paraffin wax is food safe. And all it does is just coats the part that goes into your cake. It doesn't bleed, it holds color, and goes right into your cake and makes it so that just in case it takes on moisture, but after these stems set up and you've had them for a while, it's really hard to get that you would end up getting moisture in it. But just in case, to answer that question, the question was, what happens to after you put it into a real cake? Well, that can actually, if you were worried about it, that's what I use. I use paraffin wax. And it's very white. You can hardly see it here. And I just set it in a regular oven and set that on a tray and melt it down, or else you can put it in the microwave and melt it. And then I just use a little brush and brush it onto, or dip it in. This flour was just pieces of wafer that were oversaturated, like the one I was showing you. It has beautiful movement, and it goes very well on a cake. And you could put it on a piece right here on a black cake. I just can't tell the time. What is the time there? Will you have time for a bit more?
7:50.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm going to have here is I have a couple of flowers that I have pre-made. And let's say you made this and you just said to yourself, well, I want to fill that up, and I've already stuck it together and it's really movable. You can make all of these and just set them ahead in the center, just like that. And then also what I take is isomalt and stick that to fondant. and it works very, very well.
Okay, we have some questions.
Okay.
So one person had asked, it was C-suites, if that shape of calla leaf was in design space. I said, you probably wouldn't know that, but you can use an upside down heart shape, couldn't you, for the calla lily?
For the calla lily, you
Yeah,
can just cut them randomly.
yeah,
And
it's a simple shape.
but an upside down heart shape, yes. The
Yeah,
calla lily has, if you want to make it, what I'm making is fantasy flowers, okay? But if botanically correct, it is made like this. And what you do, if you don't have a heart that you want to turn upside down, or you don't have that available at that time, you can cut it randomly, like make it out of parchment paper, and then set it on top of your wafer paper or smart sheet, whatever you're making it out of, and it becomes your demo. And so
okay.
I'll show you that. I'm going to show you that because
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a very simple shape.
this is what I do. Let's say I don't have like
We do have, I have another question for you. Would coating the stem in chocolate, um, the ones that are going in a moist cake, would that work for putting
yes.
it into?
The answer to that is would it? Yes, it does. It goes in, but the other thing is that let's say it's for a wedding, or you've delivered it, you've left it with the people, or they've picked it up, and if even tempered chocolate where I live is very dangerous to take outside. Also within people's homes or wherever they're having the party, because they usually don't cut the cake until the last minute. So therefore, you could end up having it melting inside of the cake. And then you're taking on the extra flavor of the chocolate of what they've ordered. So do you see what I'm saying there? So
Yeah.
what paraffin does is it doesn't add or take away or put in anything other than you can pull it right out, and you don't have to worry about it, because they're going to want to pull those flowers out. What my experience is, they pull the flowers out and they take them, and the young people and even the guests want to eat them. So what inspired me was Deborah not only asking me, how do you get a straight stem? It was Nicole Bending Lamb that came on an Icing Images, and she did this technique in a large branch like this, big, and she put it in the oven, and it goes bubbly, gnarly. And if I do that, I can do it with my torch, and it will start to go in funny. If you would like to see that done, I can do that for you. This
Okay,
one's
got
and set up, but it was Nicole Bending Lamb that actually, I do believe, developed this. Now it's
Yep.
gone everywhere, where you can take wafer and just fold it over itself and use your glue inside of it, and then just put it together and then cut it in half and make all the little branches. Done a different technique than what I'm using. But I love this technique because it sets up, and it even sets up with paper push. And the only reason I used the other tonight was so you could see it dry, bang, just like that. So the other
Now,
the other question,
Nicole asked a question. She's
okay,
watching. She wanted to know, where do you buy paraffin? And she asked if it's food safe. It is food safe, paraffin
get
wax.
it in the grocery store. I'll show it to
Yeah,
you.
it's like candle wax almost.
All of your, not exactly the same, all of your fruit and some vegetables, like your squash all that kind of stuff comes. That's how they seal you. It's the coating that goes on the outside of your apples and things like that. It will be rubbed on and has obviously done through machinery, but that's what it looks like.
There we go.
We used to, those candy, those lips that you used to buy that used to have the fruit inside of them, and you used to buy them and you put them in your mouth and it looks like you've got these red lips and
Yeah.
had this fruit stuff inside of them. Well, that's what it was paraffin wax. So the other thing before I show you the cutting of that template that we're making, this is fried wafer.
That's cool.
Yes.
I love when people do that.
And what you can do with it is take it and fold it and form it. And it makes a really pretty topper and coming down. You can do, they look like twirls, like we do with cookie twirl. But it's just how did I make this? Well, how I made this was exactly the same way as I made the glue. I took my ground up wafer and I added water to it. And I got it nice and watery, so it took a little while. And then I took my pan to medium on the stove, and I took a spoon like this and daubed it out. And then I took this is kind of, we're making a demo, but we're really not doing it. I can do it for it. And then I just spread it around in the heat. And guess what?
It's fried.
It's fried.
So when you say you get it wet, how wet do you get it? What is the consistency you kind of look for?
I'm going to do that for you right now. So I made this glue. Okay. If you would like me to fry it, I will fry it. We have a little time here. I just want to make sure that pardon me?
It's cool. Let's end with the frying because it's cool. We can't see your head, but we can see your hands. It's like you're the head decorator.
Just give me one minute. I always run late anyway.
Yep. You got lots of good stuff to share.
Just a minute. You're back. I'm just going to get my stove top.
Oh. We'll be right back, guys. She tends to do things that she doesn't plan on, and that's where she is right now.
Just go over there and plug that in down there. Okay, so this is an induction burner that I'm just, so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Because my stove is over here to the left. And so that's what this pan is for. It's for this stove. Okay, so we're going to just move this out of the way. Now we have this already hydrated, so I'm just going to use what I hydrated. I put a little more hydration in there. You want to use a silicone. Stir that in there.
When you're done stirring, can you hold it closer to the camera so they can see? Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Yep.
Now we can only see your belly and your hands.
I was doing a live and I was working with chocolate, and somebody said, "Why have you got a white jacket on when we're working with chocolate?" And he said, "I stand way far away." Okay, so that's about the consistency. If it isn't right when you test it, to see if my pan is hot enough, it's coming. Just takes a couple minutes. That's why I wanted the induction, so it'll keep you here all night.
So it looks pretty soupy.
It is. If you put it on too thick, it takes quite a little while. So then you can adjust it as you're going. You know, you test it. You can if it's too thick, it'll be more solid in the pan. Then, and obviously that's what water does to it. See, can you see that plopping down there?
Boy,
Okay, let's see. I'm just going to give this a little test. When you throw it on here, I'll wait till that camera focuses. Is it focused?
Yep, we're good. Back
Okay.
to the decorator.
Go back to the decorator. So you see how it separates there? Don't be alarmed about that. If you don't like it, you can just put more water with it. Just keep moving it around.
Scramble those eggs.
Scramble in the eggs. Yeah, scramble those eggs. That's good. Okay, and I will tell you, this is very relaxing. It's, you know, you're going to have some parts of it that may come up wet. So what I suggest is all you do is get a drying rack like you would for your cookies, and you set these on them. But I really think this could have used a little more water, so I'm just going to leave that for a second while it does its little toasty roasty here. So you put a little more water in that. Just a bit more. So you can kind of go in there, not with metal. Metal is a conductor. Do not do that. Shut that door. Okay. So it just kind of pulls off. This one is a beginner one. And so it can still be used, but it's still a little wet. So I'm going to turn it over and do that. And then I'm going to take another amount and put it in here. Second round.
So Susie Q says she loves that you don't waste a flake, LOL. And Nicole said she is assuming you have a nonstick pan, and that's what it looks like.
It is, but you don't have to. It's an induction burner that I'm using, so you have to have special pans for an induction burner, and that's what this one is. But you do not have to use. Actually, I like the other pan better without the non-stick film on it. But this works also, so I just wanted you to be able to see it, because when I'm over there, it's very difficult for me to see it. But yes, I do have pans that aren't non-stick. So you see how that's staying together? That tells me I need more water. So I'm going to make it more liquefied. I'm going to push you over to the side there. You can cook by yourself. Okay, so I'm going to pour this in here like this. And you see the difference in that? Plus I'm using the induction burner, which is a little different then. But you just keep working with it. Of course, it isn't wide. You might say that it's not sticking.
So for all you blue owners, I bet you can make this and print on it. It'll be amazing.
You know, another thing about the blue and your ink, I use your ink, you know I do. And I just take a sponge and swipe right across my wafer paper and swipe right across with it. That's why that little sponge is sitting over there. So this is the consistency. What it needed was more water. So you do have to test it when you're first working with it. And also I'm using, like I said, I like to use the stove more than I like to use the burner here. But when you're teaching, you do need to have these burners because there's people that want to do it. And there's not enough room at the stove. So if you do have bubbling afterwards, be patient. Just let it sit on the burner for a little while. And it will come together. You can color it. You can make green. You can make moss out of it. You make anything around your cake. And So this is the black cake. I think that you already know that I probably could go into a lot more detailed stuff here for you, but this is what I'm going to be working on shortly for Halloween. And I have a tray. I'm going to take this up off the burner so you can see it. As soon as I lift it off there, see how it moves around? Then you take that off and you set it aside and just let it dry. And then it becomes all very movable. And you can form it. On this cake here, what I will be doing with it, if you notice these branches and everything that we were making tonight, how well that stands out. So how would I get that on there? I use Icing and stick that on there. But you can also use the glue, and you can also use some little honey. Some people use the piping gel. I just find that it takes so long and it can move, also in the heat down here. So there's a lot of different depending on your climate and what you're dealing with. These are the sails. Oh, this is something also that Wafer does do. Now, I have a whole room of Wafer. So this also goes on this cake, but I will spray it. This is what I use my hand sprayer for, just to make it look a little more evil. I'm just going to get these so I can show them to you, and then I think we're pretty much finished.
Yeah, so they have man caves and she sheds. She's got a decorating house. She takes up the majority of it with all her stuff that she uses.
Plug this for me. I'm just going to move this burner out of the way before we get what you call burnt. Okay, just leave it down there. Okay. So what we have here is a tray full of Wafer. This one here, what I did with it, I took your ink on a sponge, which is right here, and I put the Wafer down onto parchment paper, and I just swiped over it, and look at how shiny that is. And
that's pretty beautiful.
That ink is really nice. And then this I dipped. These are the ones that I saturated and dipped. So they'll go up all over this. And then again, I'm going to put a bird on it on the top, but it's going to be an old crow. See, they'll come up.
And I love how it just has so much life to it. And
Yes.
These are simple shapes,
They're all just shapes. And Wafer does so much. If you saw my other out there in my studio, you would see. And so that's what I had for you tonight. And if there's anybody that had questions about things and I haven't answered this one also is airbrushed. Here you go, Stacy. This one was airbrushed. And anybody who's asking about airbrushing. So what I did is I started off very lightly. I use a cardboard box and I set the Wafer in there, and then I use my airbrush. And this is the splash colors from Sydney, Galprin, semi cakes.com. And I just went layer after layer after layer while it dried in between. And then the last one, I saturated it, and then I just had gloves on, obviously, and pulled it. And these are some other ones that I just weirdly shaped. I fried this one in the frying pan.
I love how the reds are so deep.
Yes, those are her colors.
That's semi-color splash.
Yeah, color splash. That's right. I have them out there. And so a lot of these, how I got the forming of them is I dipped them into, and then I fried them in the frying pan
That's
on the
cool.
stove.
So basically, the ink was your water almost in that
Yeah,
situation, right?
then it's watered. You can water. I can water it down and keep on using it. And the
Yeah.
sponge, what I do is the sponge, it's got the ink on it, right? And I showed you that in the last what I do. I use paper towel and cover it with. Dave was looking for all our plates and where they went
Yeah.
because I was using them as my blotter. But that's what I used. I used the sponge and I wet it down and went across it, and then I just fried it in the frying pan.